Welcome back. Moving on to the third method to provide quality of service to a network, that is traffic shaping. We have already learned two different methods, right? Over provisioning and then buffering. In the case of buffering, at a sender machine, let us call it as a server side. Okay, so the server output the packets with a uniform spacing between them, right? And it's because of some congestion and all in the network, these packets are received at the destination or at the client side in a non-uniform rate, and for a smooth delivery to the upper layer at the client side we are providing buffering. That was the buffering technique, but this is not always the case. At the sender machine itself, that is at the server side itself, the packets may be emitted irregularly. This graph shows the typical browser traffic. You can see how much bursty the traffic is. In between lot of gaps are there, and sometimes the heavy bursts are coming from the server side. So this type of non-uniform output is common if the server is handling many streams at once. And also the buffering technique is not always possible. Just for example, in video conferencing and all, buffering all the packets and then delivering is not possible. So we have to go for some other method in which the traffic smoothing is done at the server side, at the sending machine rather than the client machine. Okay, so that is traffic shaping. So traffic shaping is about regulating the average rate or average burstiness of data transmission. So when a flow is set up, that is when a connection is set up between a sender machine and the network, there will be an agreement between these sender machine and the network about the traffic pattern. Say the customer will specify this is the traffic pattern I am going to follow to send my packets, and that is called service level agreement. And as long as the customer fulfills this agreement, this network can promise to deliver them all in a timely fashion. So this traffic shaping reduce the congestion. So these types of agreements are not so important in case of file transfers and all, but it's a case of real-time data such as audio and video connections. This is so important that once the service level agreement is done, it's a duty of the network to monitor whether this customer is or the sender machine follows this agreement. Okay, so monitoring the traffic flow is called actually traffic policing. Now let us move on to two different methods for this traffic shaping, that is to smooth out that irregular data traffic from a sender machine. Two methods are there to implement this traffic shaping. First one is leaky bucket algorithm and the second one is token bucket algorithm. So let us move on to the first one, that is leaky bucket algorithm. We can imagine a bucket with a small hole in the bottom. So no matter the rate at which water enters the bucket, the outflow is at a constant rate if there is some water. So if the bucket is empty, outflow will be 0, otherwise it in a constant rate. Also, once the bucket is full, any additional water entering it spills over the sides and it's lost. And the same idea applied to packets also. Conceptually, each host is connected to the network by an interface, right? And that interface can be treated as a leaky bucket. Leaky bucket here is nothing but a finite internal queue. Okay, and if a packet arrives into this queue when it is already full, the packet will be simply discarded. You can see here that packets are arriving from the host computer in a non-uniform manner, that is bursty traffic. And how to smoothen out this non-uniform traffic into a uniform pattern, a regulated flow before handing over to the network. Yeah, for that we have this small hole here, right? The same thing happens here also. The host is allowed to put one packet per clock tick onto the network. So this mechanism turns an uneven flow of packets from the user processes inside the host into an even flow of packets onto the network, smoothing out all the bursts and greatly reduces the chance of congestion. So these are the summary of steps. Each host is connected to the network by an interface containing a leaky bucket, that is a finite internal queue. And if a packet arrives at the queue when it is full, the packet is discarded. And the host is allowed to put one packet per clock tick onto the network. So this makes this data flow from uneven to even. If all the packets are of the same size, this algorithm can be used. Otherwise, that is, if packets are of variable size, then it's better to allow a fixed number of bytes per tick rather than just one packet per clock tick. For example, if the rule is to permit 1024 bytes per tick, and suppose the packet size is 1024 bytes itself, then one packet will be admitted. Or if the packet size is 512 bytes, two packets will be admitted in a single clock tick. Or if it is 256 byte packet, then 4 different packets will be allowed in a single tick, like that. Coming to the implementation of this leaky bucket algorithm, implementation of the original leaky bucket algorithm is simple, straightforward, using a finite queue. And the implementation of byte counting leaky bucket algorithm we will see in the next slide. So in case of original leaky bucket algorithm, when a packet arrives, if there is room on the queue, it is appended to the queue. Otherwise, simply discarded. And at every clock tick, one packet is transmitted unless the queue is empty. So this is regarding the original leaky bucket algorithm. Now coming to this byte counting leaky bucket algorithm, at each clock tick, a counter is initialized to n. And if the first packet on the queue has fewer bytes than the current value of the counter, it is transmitted. And the counter is decremented by that number of bytes. And the coming packets, that additional packets, may also be sent as long as the counter is high enough to accommodate all the bytes in that packet. Otherwise, it have to wait for the next clock tick. So the transmission of the next packet is done on the next clock tick, and this procedure continues.